In film school, they always say, write what you know. And what do I know? I know South Central Los Angeles. And I said, I'm gonna make this movie. It's gonna be called Boyz n the Hood.
Boyz n the Hood is known as one of the most powerful and influential films of the early 1990s. A captivating story that captured the realities of life in South Central Los Angeles. But behind the drama, emotion, and unforgettable performances, there are many things fans never knew. So, what hidden stories helped turn this groundbreaking movie into a timeless classic? Join us as we reveal surprising facts about Boyz n the Hood that will change the way you see it forever. Will Smith almost played Tre Styles. One of the biggest surprises about Boyz n the Hood is that one of the movie's most important characters almost looked completely different. Believe it or not, Will Smith was first offered the role of Tre Styles, the main character who carries the heart of the film. That's right. Before he became the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Will Smith came very close to stepping into the streets of South Central Los Angeles. So why did this not happen? Let's find out. At the end of the 1980s, Will Smith was already a rising star in music. As part of the rap duo DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince, he was known for his fun, clean, and positive songs. Everyone loved his humor and charm, but Will wanted to do more. He wanted to act. And around that time, a young film student named John Singleton was trying to make his first movie, a story that would change both his life and American cinema forever. Singleton wanted everything in the movie to feel real. From the way people talked to the way they walked, nothing could look or sound fake. So when casting began, the studio searched for someone who could bring energy, charm,
Your mama.
My mama? Oh, what about my mama?
and depth to Tre Styles, the smart, determined young man at the center of the story. But more than that, they wanted someone popular, someone whose name could help sell the movie fast. That's when Will Smith's name came up. He was young, talented, and had a natural screen presence that drew people in instantly. To the studio executives, he seemed like the perfect choice. But for Will, this decision wasn't easy. Taking the role in Boyz n the Hood would mean moving into serious acting right away. It would be a big step, but also a big risk. The movie was powerful, but no one knew if audiences were ready for such a raw story about life in South Central. At the same time, another opportunity appeared, a brand new comedy show called The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. The idea was simple. Will Smith would play a version of himself, a street-smart kid from Philadelphia who moves in with his rich relatives in Los Angeles. It was funny, family-friendly, and full of positive energy. So Will Smith had to choose. On one side was Boyz n the Hood, a serious drama that told a tough emotional story. On the other was The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, a light-hearted comedy that could reach millions of people on television every week. Both projects were about young black men trying to find their way, but in completely different worlds. In the end, Will chose the sitcom. When Will Smith turned down the offer, the studio decided to go with Cuba Gooding Jr., who ended up doing an amazing job in the role. Still, some fans can't help but imagine what the movie might have been like if Will had taken the part, and how his natural humor and charm could have changed the entire tone of Boyz n the Hood.
Starting a party.
The guys of Sigma Sigma Gamma. There's gonna be a really cool band and everyone is gonna be there.
But that was just the beginning of the surprises that came from Boyz n the Hood. Keep watching for more. Ice Cube almost down the offer to act. Speaking of people who rejected the show, another big star who almost walked away from Boyz n the Hood was Ice Cube. Hard to believe today, but the rapper-turned-actor nearly said no to the role that would make Doughboy unforgettable. At the time, Cube was focused on music. He had just split from NWA and was building his solo career. Acting felt risky and unnecessary. He didn't trust Hollywood to tell the kinds of stories he knew, stories with real people, real language, and real pain. So when John Singleton first reached out, Cube politely declined. Singleton didn't give up. He wanted Ice Cube so badly that he tracked him down at concerts and events, talking to him directly and explaining the heart of the script. Singleton kept pushing for one simple thing, and that was a chance for Cube to try a screen test. Cube eventually agreed to read the script, and that's when things shifted. What really convinced Cube wasn't just the story, It was the way Singleton wanted to make it. Singleton offered him something rare, a real voice in the film. He told Cube he could help shape the dialogue and add his own language to the scenes, so they would sound authentic. Instead of being handed lines that sounded like a movie, Cube was given permission to bring the rhythm and truth of his neighborhood into the script. That offer mattered. Ice Cube was a writer at heart. Being allowed to shape Doughboy's voice turned the project from a stranger's script into a personal collaboration. When Cube finally did the screen test, he didn't act out the role. He lived it. His delivery felt natural, precise, and real, exactly what Singleton had hoped for. The studio worried. Casting a rapper with no formal acting background felt like a gamble. But Singleton stood firm. He knew that authenticity mattered more than a polished resume. Once filming began, Cube proved he was more than a gamble. He brought a balance of toughness, humor, and quiet sorrow to Doughboy that made the character human rather than one note. Cube's performance became the emotional backbone of the film. His scenes carried a lived-in truth that critics and audiences noticed right away. What began as a reluctant no turned into a powerful debut. Ice Cube didn't just play Doughboy, he helped write him into being, blending his street voice with Singleton's vision. That collaboration changed the film forever and launched Cube's long career in movies. Father-son age gap. Another surprising fact about Boyz n the Hood has to do with one of the most unforgettable relationships in the film, the powerful bond between Furious Styles and his teenage son Tre. Their connection felt so natural and so emotionally grounded that many fans assumed the two actors shared a real father-son relationship off-screen. But here's the shocking truth. Lawrence Fishburne, who played the wise and disciplined father, was only 7 years older than Cuba Gooding Jr., who played his son. During filming of Boyz n the Hood in 1990, Fishburne was 29 years old, while Gooding Jr. was 22. That's hardly the age difference you would expect between a father and his teenage child. It's more like the gap between older and younger college classmates. Yet on screen, the illusion was flawless. Fishburne carried himself with such calm authority and maturity that audiences completely believed he had decades of experience behind him. The reason this father and son age gap worked so perfectly comes down to John Singleton's eye for authenticity. Singleton wasn't looking for actors who fit a certain age bracket. He was looking for people who could embody the emotional truth of their characters. He wanted a father figure who could speak to the audience as well as to his son.
We've been waiting out here for almost an hour, you know that?
Someone whose presence commanded respect, even in moments of silence. Fishburne had that presence in abundance. In Boyz n the Hood, Furious isn't just a parent. He's a symbol of stability and wisdom in a world full of chaos. He teaches Tre not only how to survive, but how to think about respect, self-control, and responsibility. His lessons hit hard because Fishburne delivered them with the gravity of a man who had lived through years of hardship. You never question his authority, you simply accept it. Meanwhile, Cuba Gooding Jr. perfectly captured Tre's restless, curious energy. His youthful frustration, mixed with admiration for his father, created a believable tension that mirrored real parent-child relationships. Even though the two actors were close in age, their performances built a dynamic that felt generations apart. That's what happens when casting focuses on chemistry, not chronology. Fishburne's performance also highlighted an often overlooked reality. In many parts of South Central Los Angeles, it wasn't unusual for men to become fathers at a young age, by accident or by design.
And last one I think was to never respect anybody who doesn't respect you back.
But his on-screen youth added another layer of realism. He could easily have been one of those young fathers trying to raise a son while still figuring out his own life. And that's not all. What made Fishburne's portrayal in Boyz n the Hood so remarkable was his ability to project years of life experience he didn't actually have. His tone, posture, and expression carried a sense of history, as if every word came from a place of hard-earned understanding. In one moment, he's stern and uncompromising. In another, you can feel the love and fear behind his eyes. He made Furious Styles both a moral compass. Cuba Gooding Jr. later said that working with Fishburne was intimidating at first because of the intensity he brought to every scene. That sense of real-life respect between them added depth to their performances. You can see it in the way Tre looks at his father, with a sense of frustration, admiration, and part fear of disappointing him. That emotional honesty turned their relationship into one of the most memorable father-son portrayals ever captured on film. And it wasn't just the acting that made it work. Singleton's direction played a huge role too. He knew when to let the camera linger during lectures, silences, and moments of reflection, allowing the audience to feel the weight of Furious's lessons. Those quiet moments made the connection between father and son feel even stronger.
Don't do that no more. That's nasty. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, listen to this song. I love this song.
The film's realism didn't come from makeup or special effects, but from the chemistry of two performers who completely understood their roles. Fishburne's performance as Furious Styles went on to become legendary. He's now often cited as one of the greatest father figures in cinema, a man who balanced toughness with compassion, and who taught audiences as much as he taught his son. His advice about responsibility, respect, and manhood still resonates today, more than 3 decades after the movie's release. It's a reminder of what great acting can do. Audiences rarely stop to think about real ages or behind-the-scenes details when the performances feel real. The power of their scenes together shows how far skill, commitment, and direction can stretch the boundaries of believability. And while this surprising age gap between father and son is fascinating, it wasn't the only unusual casting decision in Boyz n the Hood. Director John Singleton seemed to have a unique ability of pairing actors whose real-life ages didn't align with their on-screen relationships. And somehow, it always worked. Now don't go anywhere because the next age difference is even more surprising than this. The casting drama. Tyra Ferrell, who played Brenda Baker, the tired, overworked single mother in Boyz n the Hood, was only 28 years old when filming began. Her on-screen sons, Morris Chestnut and Ice Cube, were almost the same age. Chestnut, who played Ricky, was 22, and Ice Cube, who played Doughboy, was 21. That means Ferrell was playing the mother of 2 men who were only a few years younger than her in real life. In Boyz n the Hood, Brenda is meant to be a woman who had her children when she was very young and has spent years trying to raise them in one of the toughest parts of Los Angeles. She's tired, cautious, and full of worry. She wants to protect her sons from the dangers of their neighborhood, but she's also dealing with her own disappointments and regrets. The small real-life age gap between the actors made Ferrell's performance even more impressive. She had to play a mother who carried years of pain and experience, even though she was still young herself. Ferrell managed to do it beautifully. She didn't rely on gray hair, wrinkles, or makeup to look older. She acted older through emotion and body language. You could see the weight of her life in her tired eyes, and hear it in her voice. She carried herself like a woman who had seen too much.
What y'all doing now?
Yet kept going because she had no choice. Every sigh, every pause, and every small movement showed the years of struggle behind her character. Brenda's relationship with her 2 sons is one of the strongest parts of Boyz n the Hood. Ricky, played by Morris Chestnut, is her pride and hope. He's focused, respectful, and determined to use his football talent to build a better life. Doughboy, played by Ice Cube, is her frustration. He's often in trouble, angry at the world, and stuck in the streets. Brenda loves both her sons, but she treats them very differently. With Ricky, she's patient and loving. With Doughboy, she's strict and distant. That difference creates tension throughout the story. Ferrell shows this perfectly. She can be gentle one moment and harsh the next. She wants to believe that Ricky will escape the neighborhood, but she has lost faith that Doughboy ever will. Her words cut deep, but they come from fear as much as anger. One of the film's most emotional scenes shows Brenda yelling at Doughboy, telling him he's just like his father and will never be anything in life. It's hard to watch because it feels so real. You can see the pain behind her anger and the sadness in Doughboy's face as he listens. It's one of those rare moments in a movie where it doesn't feel like acting at all. It feels like watching a real family fall apart in front of you. Ice Cube's reaction in that scene is powerful. He doesn't shout back right away. He just looks hurt and confused, then hides it behind anger. It's a small moment, but it says everything about his character. That's part of what makes Boyz in the Hood so believable.
Say, D, why don't you go to the store for me, man? Get some corn in.
Nigga, I ain't the one she told to go get it. Show wife, you go get the shit.
Every emotion feels honest, not performed. Even though Tyra Ferrell was only a few years older than her on-screen sons, the audience never questions her role as their mother. That's because she understood Brenda's pain so deeply. She played her with real emotion, not just technique. She showed both strength and exhaustion, a woman trying to hold her family together while slowly breaking inside. The closeness in age between the actors may have even made the family dynamic more realistic. Their arguments and conversations feel sharp and natural, almost like three people who have grown up side by side. There's a kind of shared energy that makes their scenes feel alive. When Brenda argues with Doughboy, it feels like two people who know each other's weaknesses too well. When she comforts Ricky, it feels like a real mother-son bond built on years of struggle. Now here comes the interesting part. Director John Singleton understood this better than anyone. He wasn't interested in Hollywood's usual rules about casting or age. He cared about truth, about finding actors who could bring real emotion to their roles. He wanted his film to feel honest, even if the numbers on paper didn't match. Ferrell was perfect for that reason. She might have been young, but she had a wisdom and emotional strength that made her believable as a mother who'd lived through hard times. She didn't just act the part, she understood it. Singleton saw that in her from the start. For Morris Chestnut and Ice Cube, these roles changed their lives.
Yo, Chief, here you go. Hey, no problem.
Boyz in the Hood was Chestnut's first big movie, and he played Ricky with a quiet sincerity that made audiences care about him immediately. Ice Cube, known for his rap career, surprised everyone with how natural and real he felt on screen. His Doughboy wasn't just a tough guy. He was a complicated young man full of pain, love, and pride. Together, the three actors created one of the most believable families ever seen in a movie. The chemistry between them felt real because Singleton gave them room to explore their emotions instead of following strict directions. He wanted them to connect with each other the way real families do, through love, frustration, and shared experiences. Ferrell later said that playing Brenda was challenging but rewarding. She wasn't a mother in real life at the time, but she understood what it meant to care deeply for someone and feel powerless to protect them. She used that emotion to shape her character. Her performance became one of the most memorable parts of Boyz n the Hood. The age gap between the actors never mattered once the movie started. What mattered was the truth in their performances. Viewers didn't see three people close in age. They saw a mother doing everything she could to save her family. That's what great acting does. It makes people believe. John Singleton's decision to focus on truth instead of appearances was a big reason Boyz in the Hood felt so real. He trusted his instincts.
You definitely get the vibe of where gangsta hip-hop came from when watching the show.
He believed that if his actors felt the emotion honestly, the audience would too. He was right. Tyra Ferrell, Morris Chestnut, and Ice Cube all brought their characters to life with heart and honesty. The small age difference between them only proves how powerful performance can be. You don't need decades between actors to show years of struggle. You just need truth. But this wasn't the only interesting thing about the casting in Boyz n the Hood. Stay with us. Chris's wheelchair was real. One of the most powerful and realistic parts of Boyz n the Hood is how it shows the real impact of gun violence. This is especially true with the character Chris, played by Reggie Green. In the movie, Chris is one of Doughboy's close friends. He uses a wheelchair because he was shot and can no longer walk. His scenes are quiet but meaningful, reminding viewers what the streets can take away. What most people didn't know when Boyz n the Hood came out is that Reggie Green wasn't acting when it came to using the wheelchair. He really was paralyzed from the waist down in real life. That fact makes his role even more powerful. His story wasn't written in a script. He had lived through the kind of violence the movie was trying to show. When Reggie Green was just 6 years old, he was caught in the middle of a gunfight in Richmond, California. Two men in his neighborhood got into an argument that turned violent. One of them grabbed young Reggie to use as a human shield, while the other started shooting. A bullet hit him, leaving him paralyzed for the rest of his life. It's a heartbreaking story, one that shows exactly what Boyz n the Hood was about. The film was trying to make people understand that this kind of tragedy wasn't rare. It was something that happened in real communities, to real children, all the time. By casting Green, director John Singleton brought that truth to the screen in the most honest way possible. Instead of hiring an able-bodied actor to pretend, he chose someone who had actually lived through the pain the story was telling. Green's performance adds a quiet strength to the movie. Even though he doesn't have many lines, his presence is unforgettable. Every time the camera shows Chris laughing, watching his friends, or simply existing in the background, it reminds the audience of the cost of violence.
Nigga, don't fuck me, fuck your wife. That's why you got a baby now.
Hey man, you better get on my face, alright?
How quickly life can change. His character doesn't need to explain what happened. You can feel it just by seeing him there. But Green's story is even more tragic than most people know. Just 2 hours after he was shot, his father died from a drug overdose. In one terrible day, he lost both his ability to walk and his father. Most people wouldn't have been able to recover from something like that. But Green refused to give up. Even after being paralyzed, he started acting professionally at the age of 13. He appeared on popular TV shows like Different Strokes, Highway to Heaven, and Aftermath. By the time he was cast in Boyz n the Hood, he already had years of acting experience and the kind of real-life strength no one could fake. His role in the film gave him a platform to share his story. Afterward, Green became a motivational speaker, using his experience to inspire young people. He often talked about survival, hope, and making positive choices no matter how bad life gets. His message was that even the worst moments can be turned into something meaningful. Casting Reggie Green was one of the boldest and most emotional choices John Singleton made. It showed how far he was willing to go to make his film feel real. Singleton didn't just want to tell a story. He wanted people to see real faces and real pain. While Reggie Green's life brought truth and power to the screen, not everything about making Boyz n the Hood was safe or easy. Shooting a movie about gang life in South Central Los Angeles came with real dangers. The cast and crew soon found themselves facing problems that went far beyond acting. So what exactly were those problems? Let's find out. Ice Cube, gang, threats. The biggest threat of Boyz n the Hood came when members of the Bloods gang became angry about how they were portrayed in the film. Their anger focused mainly on Ice Cube, who played Doughboy. In one key scene, Doughboy shoots and kills a member of the Bloods during a drive-by. The scene shows the Crips, their rivals, coming out on top. When the Bloods saw this scene being filmed in their own neighborhood, they were furious. To them, this wasn't just a movie. It was their real world being shown on camera, and not in a way they liked. They felt the movie made them look weak and villainous, while their rivals looked stronger. Some even said the production was taking sides in a real gang conflict. Word spread quickly through the area, and soon the threats began. Some Bloods made it clear that they weren't happy with Ice Cube's role and warned that they couldn't guarantee his safety while filming there. They said they couldn't control what might happen if one of their members decided to send a message. The production team took the threats seriously. They had already seen how unpredictable things could be in those neighborhoods.
When I have people who are not from various cultures that I'm trying to tell a story, tell me.
The director, John Singleton, and his crew had to move carefully, sometimes even changing filming locations at the last minute to avoid potential violence. The situation became so tense that the Boyz n the Hood crew requested a van to be parked directly behind them during certain outdoor scenes. The idea was simple but serious. If shooting started, the cast and crew could dive behind the van for protection. It was an emergency shield. something no one expects to need on a movie set. Ice Cube's past also added to the tension. Before becoming an actor, he was a member of NWA, the rap group famous for songs about gang life, police violence, and life on the streets. His reputation and lyrics made him both respected and feared, especially in neighborhoods like the ones where they were filming. To some gang members, seeing Ice Cube act out a scene where their side loses felt like a personal insult. Despite the danger, the production continued. Singleton believed in showing the truth about what was happening in those communities, even if it meant taking real risks.
Meet me at my house in 5 minutes.
He wanted people outside Los Angeles to understand what life was like there, the fear, the pride, and the constant tension that shaped every day. The threats against Ice Cube and the crew made everyone realize just how powerful and sensitive the movie's subject matter really was. For the people who lived in those streets, Boyz n the Hood wasn't just fiction. It was a mirror of their lives, and not everyone liked what they saw, and that's what made the movie classic. What do you think about these shocking behind-the-scenes facts from Boyz n the Hood? Did any of them surprise you or change how you see the movie? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more untold stories about your favorite movies. Click on the next video, showing on your screen. You won't want to miss it.